Hi, and welcome to the Wise Dreamer podcast. I am your host, Dawn Oree, and today I am actually going to do a conversation about fathers and about what fathers mean to me. And I say fathers because I've been blessed to have a biological father, and I've also been blessed to have a stepfather, two grandfathers who loved me dearly, and an amazing godfather. And I cannot tell you how many other men there are that have been in my life that have been cornerstones in my development. So I wanted to take some time today to really just focus a little bit on the beauty of my life because of a father. I can honestly say that one of the most important relationships in my life has been the relationship that I had with my dad. And I say had because in 2018 my father passed away. He died of Parkinson's disease, and he had it for many years, and we had a long time of getting prepared, or at least knowing that it was coming, although it being here is still something that I can't really fathom and put into words. I will say that there are some very key memories that I have of my father and our relationship, and it was beautiful in a lot of ways. My father, obviously I have a stepfather, so that denotes that my father wasn't in my life full time as when I was growing up. He was not in Michigan with us. He was in New York, and he was in Virginia, and he was in Detroit sometimes, and not with us then because he and my mom got divorced when I was very young. But that didn't stop us from having a really great bond. I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize about the father-daughter relationship, or at least the father-daughter relationship that I had with my dad, was that no matter what time or space, I wasn't inclined to let him go. And I think that because I wasn't inclined to let him go, and I held on so tight, and he really wasn't inclined to let me go either, that our relationship just stayed good. I remember a lot of times us singing together. I remember a lot of times us laughing together. I remember the times when it was just he and I, and he poured wisdom into me. And as I got older, really and truly having a conversation about entrepreneurship with him, because he was an entrepreneur, and owned a tile installation company, and he did a lot of work in New York. And I got a chance to really spend some time and live with him in New York for a little while, and then moving back home after I had my son, just having all kinds of different ebbs and flow of that relationship. I think what I can say most about it is that above all things, I know he loved me, and I can happily say that I know that he loved me. And despite the fact that we didn't live in the same city or the same state, he still loved me. When I would visit him in Virginia, when we would talk on the phone, when I moved to California, he was always my support. He was the person who was in my ear giving me the "you can do it" when nobody else was, the go and forge your life when nobody else was saying that you need to forge your own life. When he was saying that, he was the one that was saying it before anybody got on board. And I think that's partially because he understood what it was like to leave everybody and to go to a place that he'd never been and to carve out a life. which included a lot of ups and a lot of downs and a lot of depression and a lot of gathering yourself and a lot of learning to become the person that you were supposed to be. And I think somewhere in him, he understood that that part of him was in me. And so when I was ready to move to California, or when I started talking about moving to California, away from everything and everybody, what he said was, go. Do your best. I can't tell you how many lessons are flooding my mind right now that are just bits and pieces of the conversation that we've had all my life. And I am so grateful for him. I'm grateful for the relationship. I'm grateful that he is my dad. Because without him, I wouldn't be here. Real simple. But without him, I wouldn't be me. No, everything wasn't roses. No, we didn't grow up the Brady Bunch. Or the Cosbys. Or the Partridge Family. Or even the Jenkins and 227. We didn't grow up like that. We grew up, my home was broken. My mom and my sister and my brother and I, it was hard. And he didn't do all that he was supposed to do. I can say that. But I can also say he did do all that he could do where I was concerned for my emotional and my relational growth. Because when he left here, I had no doubt in my mind that he loved me. And everybody from a broken home cannot say that. So I'm grateful. And I want to just take a minute, even though Father's Day has passed. And Father's Day is a little difficult for me because Father's Day is just a few days after the date of his passing. Maybe 2 or 3 days. So that is why this is a little late, because I really was just trying to get beyond the fact that I missed his voice. But I can say that, God does everything well. He does all things well. He does all things well. So he gave me not one father, but several. And my stepfather, the man who raised me, he loved us the best way he knew how. And still loves us the best way he knows how. I have lots of great memories of him being good to us when he was available for good. Bike rides and cars and everything that I could say that I wanted. He did all he could to make it be so. And I think the thing that strikes me so about the dichotomy in the relationship that I have with him, is that I also remember the abuse. But then I understand that even in that, he still was trying to do everything that he could. We never missed a meal. We never missed Christmas. We never missed a holiday. We never missed time around the family. He is big on making sure that we come together. So we do. And I greatly appreciate him for all of the love that he's given me to the best of his ability when he didn't feel like it. When he was tired, when he was coming off of the line at Ford and he was sleepy, he would still go get me a pizza, or take me to go get pizza, or order me food, or do something special for me because I was the youngest. And I think that in his being with us and growing up around him, I think one of the things that he wanted us to know more than anything else is that we are truly loved. We're special people. I don't think people told him that when he was younger. I don't think people told him how brilliant he was, how amazing of a man he could be. I don't think people gave him that opportunity to really understand the beauty that was inside, that is inside of him. So there was a dichotomy. But even in that, there was love. And there still is love. So I'm grateful for all of the things that he taught me. I think there was a point in my life when I was considering doing something that wasn't corporate like. And he looked at me very clearly and said, I did not raise you to be less than somebody who works in an office. So you can't do that. Okay. He reminded me and reminds me often that I am a powerful person. Not by saying you are a powerful person, but by really and truly admiring all the good in me. So I appreciate him for that, and I love him for that. I love him for every Christmas, and every New Year, and every barbecue, and every bike ride, every hug and every kiss. Because he did all the things that he could to love us. And I'm clear on that. So I'm celebrating him today for that. And I get to celebrate my grandfathers. My grandfather, Samuel Oree, was the most gentle soul I've met in a long time. I've met in my lifetime. I think maybe one other person, maybe my Uncle Ronnie, who is one of my father's youngest brothers. Gentle soul. Very gentle soul. Very much like his father. My grandfather worked in the factory, on steel mill, and then he became a minister, and became a preacher, and became a pastor. And I got a lot of my spiritual grounding from the sound of his voice. And for that I am eternally grateful. Because when I was little, we went to his church and Sunday school, and all of those things were taught by him and my grandmother and Sister Cynthia and Brother Nolan and all the people that knew me before I was me. My grandfather was such a sweet man. His favorite stuff was ice cream, and when he couldn't have ice cream, he went to Rice Dream. And he would have ice cream and graham crackers. He would talk so sweet and soft, and he sang like an angel. He just had the sweetest, most comforting personality. Never yelled, never screamed at us, but always got his point across. I remember one day I came into the house and I was like, "Hey, old man," and I walked past him and he very politely just pulled me back and said, "Renee." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, Don't call your granddaddy an old man, okay? And I was like, my heart sank. Because I had inadvertently, in my teen to grown woman years, was disrespectful. And he didn't yell it out, but the quiet giant that he was let me know that with just that little bit of words, that I was out of step. Get right back in line. He was truly one of the sweetest men I know. And I'm grateful that he is my grandfather, was my grandfather. And my other grandfather, Isaac Minor. I'm grateful for him because he was the active grandfather in my life. He did all the granddaddy things, all the things. The Christmas gifts, the dollar and out of the pocket, the laughter, the joking, the smooching, the hugging, the discipline, the talkings, even the entrepreneur lessons I got from him. Because my grandfather built more than half Plymouth and part of more than half of Plymouth, more than half of Warren, more than half of Allendale, Allen Park, you name it. Sunflower Construction Company, my grandfather's construction company, was one of the major builders of that time. So all of those houses out there, I can say, are a part of my family history. And I guess that's where I get my interior design from and my understanding of construction from. Because every once in a while I would be able to pick up a hammer and he would let me hammer and talk to me while we hammered. And he would say, "Baby, don't do such and such for Daddy. Go do such and such for Daddy." And whatever he asked, we would go do. I'm grateful for him because he was a good grandfather to me. Good grandfather to me. I can say that I had lots of laughter. I can say that he dried some of my tears. I can say that he loves me. And I can say I love him too. Let's see. I guess I saved one of the best for last. No, I'll save him for last. And then I have other people in my life that I have had the honor of being fathered by. My Uncle Danny, who is the most amazing man. Perfect example of the provider. See, I guess the way this works, the way this thing has worked for me, is I get the opportunity to have examples of it all. And I got the opportunity to be first up front and close and personal with my Uncle Danny, Danny West. One of the most incredible men in my life. So much wisdom. Quiet giant. That's what he is. He is, in my life, in my mind, he is one of the most indelible impressions of a man. Because I've watched him build an empire while he worked 50 hours a week at a regular job. I watched him build a real estate empire while he was working on the line for the city of Detroit in all kinds of weather, 60, 70 hours a week. and he would be gone at work. He would come home, get a sandwich, get some lunch, and go to work. My auntie would go take him lunch, or go and he would come home and pick up lunch, or she would pack a big lunch and he would be gone. She would make his breakfast, pack his lunch, and he would be gone working. But while he was working, he was coming home and he was stacking the money. Stacking the money. Buying a piece of real estate. And every house that he owns right now, and they own several. I think they're up to like 15, 16. I don't know. Maybe more. I don't know. But all the ones over the years that I've watched him buy and sell. All the ways that I've watched him work his understanding of what real estate could be. All the while pouring into the legacy of his children. All the while pouring into the beauty of family. All the while pouring into his wife and the relationship that they have. Never stopping to not be himself. So he still went and played softball. He still plays. He played basketball too. Basketball, softball, racquetball, you name it, bowling, whatever it was that he needed for his own release, he had it. He built a life where he loved his family, he loved his job. Well, I don't know if he loved his job. I know the everything happened and gave him what he needed. So I guess he loved the fact that he was able to create freedom through his job. So I guess he loved the job. As best as you can love a job that made you work, that had you working 70, sometimes 80 hours in a week. And I'm not lying. I know I started out at 60, but sometimes it was 70 and 80. And if it was snowing, it was definitely 70 to 80 hours. Yeah. Because if the snowstorms come and the ice storms come, the linemen have to make sure that the city of Detroit has lights, as the power outages keep happening all over the city. Yeah. So when I tell you he is an amazing man, gentle giant, so wise. And we talk now more since I'm older than we did when I was younger. I stuck up under my auntie a little bit more, and he was around, but he wasn't around like aloof. He was around and impressionable. He was around and making an impression on my mind, making an impression on my heart. The most beautiful dance that I've ever seen is my aunt and my uncle on the dance floor. The most beautiful dance that I've ever seen. Because the love that they have for one another just oozes out of the aura. And he does that on purpose. The look in his eyes when he looks at my auntie. From afar, up close, when they getting on each other's nerves, when he's tired, after he's worked, I mean, you know, all of that stuff. He just built up such a beautiful thing called family. And I got to watch it. I got to watch him build a real estate empire while he was working all those hours, missing his family, doing all the things that needed to be done to build a life so that his kids wouldn't have the hard life that he had, and then teaching them the discipline so they now have their own kind of life and they work hard and they are building. And it's beautiful to watch the legacy that he has created. So much so that the nephews and even me as the niece is working in the same vein. And that happened because we all got the opportunity to be impressed by him. Not ooh-wee impressed, but touched by him. Not just by his words, but by watching his actions. Watching him build security. Watching him live out the scripture that says that the person who doesn't leave a legacy for his family is less than an infidel. Like, I've watched him change, like switch the narrative for his grandchildren in my years of life and being around them. I watched him do that, purposely do that. so that his children and his grandchildren could have everything that they need to have and never have a second thought of, oh my God, there's not enough. He took the whole idea of the lack and the poverty and threw it out the window. Threw it out the window. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do it without my auntie. Don't get me wrong, because my auntie is amazing. She is, I don't know if, I'm clear that I wouldn't be me without her. I'm clear that I would not be me without her. Because there are a lot of things about womanhood that I didn't even know, that I had to call her on the phone and ask her. So I'm sure, I'm clear that I wouldn't even be myself without her. But that Uncle Danny, one of the best men in the whole world. And I got the opportunity to be fathered from a distance and up close by such an amazing man. And now I get to talk about my father from God. Wow. I didn't expect to get emotional. Arthur Johnson. Arthur Johnson is my godfather. He is the man who saved my heart. He is the man who decided that as a newlywed, that he and his newlywed wife could take on a 12-year-old, very needy me. And love me. They didn't have children. And I don't even know at 12 years old if I understood how impactful they would be in my life. I'm looking for tissue. I don't see any. That's not good. 1 second. I don't know how many ways I can talk about my godfather without really busting out in tears, because he's my superhero. He's my superhero. He's my Superman. He's my man of steel. If you could say that about a godfather. He's the one who prayed over me when my dad wasn't around. He's the one who counseled me when I needed a father's ear. And my father was busy doing whatever else he was doing. He's the one who held me. He's the one who I used to be able to sit up under when I needed a daddy. Gosh. I tried this a couple years ago and I cried like this too then. But he is, oh my gosh, he's my superhero. Because I was a little girl in distress. And he saved my life. I could have been a whole lot of other kind of people. I could have been this fast little girl who had a billion babies because I was yearning to have some man love me I could have been the street girl. I could have been out there with the guys who were selling drugs. I could have been doing a bunch of things. I could have been doing a bunch of things. But my Godfather kept me. My godparents kept me. But his voice is the voice that I remember most when it comes to fathering me. His arms are the arms that I remember most when it comes to the love that gets wrapped around you by your father. His prayers. Not that my father didn't pray for me, not that my grandfathers didn't pray for me, but his prayers are the prayers that wrapped around my life. His praise is the praise that I remember the loudest in the church. His voice, even now when I hear his voice when he's singing, if I haven't seen him for a long time, it makes me cry. Because it soothes me in ways I don't even understand. So I thank God. I thank God for him. All 5 of them I thank God for. Because they all taught me different lessons. My father taught me, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Let the stuff that doesn't mean enough to impact your life go by. It's just a distraction. And remember, if it's not from God, it's all small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. My father taught me, consider the source. So whenever there's something that somebody has to say to me or about me, I always remember that my father said, you need to make sure that you consider the source. My stepfather taught me that I was made for something different. That I wasn't common like the rest of any of those girls out there that were in the regular old streets. That I wasn't common. I wasn't them. I wasn't supposed to be. That wasn't what he made me to be. And he's right. A lot of people say that I am uppity. I'm not uppity. I'm just not the rest of them. And I'm okay with that. It took me a while to get okay with that. But I'm okay with that. My grandfather taught me that men could be gentle. And it's okay. I think he's the first man that I saw cry about the Lord. I have such richness in my life. My grandfather, Isaac Minor, taught me that I can build whatever the heck I want to build. And I don't need anybody's permission to be able to do that. My Uncle Danny taught me to be as wise as I can possibly be and always be strategic in my actions and my thoughts and in how I do what I do, because everything that I do every single day matters, and that above all else, do it because the family needs you to be you in their lives. Show up and be you. You can't show up and be somebody else. You don't have time for that. And always make sure that you carve out a life for you in the middle of all the things you do for everybody else, because everybody else is going to be happy with you, but you have to be happy with you too. So I got to go to baseball games and watch my Uncle Daddy run around the baseball field, and I got to go to bowling and watch him bowl, and I got to go sometimes I got to watch him leave and go play racquetball. I never went to racquetball. Got to watch him build an empire. And my godfather, he taught me that even though things don't look like they're always up and rosy. That God is still in control. And I am fully and completely loved. And that I am worthy and worth it. So all of these men poured into me. And I got the opportunity to grow up and become myself. The Wise Dreamer. I am Dawn Oree, abundance coach, speaker, teacher, thought leader, the watchman on the wall for your abundance. And I got all this because of those men in my life that stabilized me, shifted me, shaped me, prayed over me, spoke love into me, hugged and loved and kissed me, disciplined me, and showed me what it's like to have a disciplined life and the results of discipline. So when you look back over your life, take time to think about the people who shaped you to be who you are. Today, I'm celebrating fathers and those that have fathered me. And I'm saying to you that in each one of them, though they were very different, they all had a piece of a seed that I needed. Look for the seeds in you that has sprung up from the good, the bad, and the ugly. Notice I said that it was not all the way roses. Notice that I said that we had a broken home. Notice that I said that there was abuse. Notice that I said that I was broken and I was needy. But in all of those things, the seeds have come together to make me who I am. And I am grateful. So this is Dawn Oree. Thanks so much for watching, for listening, for being a part of the Wise Dreamer podcast. I am your host. And from the fathers in my life, I retort to you what they retorted to me. Dream big. Be wise. Plan it out. Get it done.